So this is our second pattern adjustment demonstration and exercise. And this is 9b shortening your pattern. You're going to need for this tape, a tape measure, if this was your full size. On our short mini size, we may not really use the tape measure very much, but you would need that on your full size pattern. Pencil and marker. Again, I prefer pencil on most of my work. You need a scissors, of course. Your clear ruler that has the increments on it of 1/8 inch and at least the 2 inches wide. And then you saw this in our lengthening one, a curve. And it comes many different ways. Okay, it probably should be one of your next purchases to your tool box for sewing and patterning. You're going to need one of the multi-size patterns, minis cut out. If you're drawing this yourself or tracing off of your computer screen, whatever, just make sure that you capture all markings like I explained in the first lengthening video. So it says to print that, our instructions. It says to gather your tools, cut that mini pattern out, and then it's asking us, in this case, to shorten the pattern by 3/4 of an inch, the pant leg, to shorten the pant leg by 3/4 of an inch. Okay. Let's get to it. I don't have a piece of colored paper this time because we're not adding, we're going to reduce. Same thing, we're going to use the one down in the pant leg. And I know that I want to take out here, because I can't just chop it off the bottom. If I do that, this is not going to fit. That hem's not going to work in there. So I am going to fold up. I'm not going to cut anything. I'm actually going to fold my pattern. And since we know that it's 3/4 of an inch, I'm going to use one of these lines, probably the top, and go this direction. So we've already got one line. Okay. So now I want a 3/4 of an inch line above that. So what is 3/4 on our ruler? Let's just come in here a little bit now. Again, so you can see up close a little better. 3/4 of an inch would be actually 6/8. So you would go 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is a half. 5, 6. That line right there happens to be 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to lay that on the top line of my shorten and lengthen area. And then I'm going to have my pencil. And I want to make sure that I am drawing perpendicular to this. So let's make sure that one of my lines is following that arrow. And the other line is following your cut line. And I'm going to draw it. So now what's going to happen, it feels just to make sure I'm at 3/4, and I am. Just felt a little bit big there because we're at 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So now we're going to bring this line up to that line. Okay, so we're just going to fold first on this line, make a nice good crease, and your shorten and lengthen line. And on pattern paper, it's a lot easier to get that crease made. Okay. And now I'm going to bring that up to and match my length arrow, right? So when I bring it up, I made that crease. What we want to do is continue to keep this on that same straight. We don't worry about what's happening out over in here right now. We're only worried about keeping the pant leg hanging straight. So I've matched that all up. Okay. Now, The opposite is true in shortening here. We have gained some space on top here. We're still going to split the difference. And this side, it's not very much. We can do this edge pretty easily without feeling that we have distorted the pattern. So I'm just going to basically draw that. It really can just be kind of snipped off there. So we could just come along and just snip that. Okay, so we got that edge going well. What about over here? Well, we really don't want to take it. It's a big enough adjustment in this small of a pattern that we were missing a big piece right here, right? So this is where you would get a little scrap of your tissue or whatever, other paper. And we're going to lay that under there, just like this. We're going to tape so it'll stay in place. And now I'm going to lay this ruler, and once again, we're going to start somewhere down in here and split that difference and take a little bit off the top, but also add a little bit down at the bottom. So again, we're going to play with until we feel like that's a good joining of from up here at the top yet. And I feel that that's just a little, not quite the smoothest curve right there yet. Let's see. What does that do? It's such a little piece that you don't want it to get too distorted, but there, I think we got onto it. So my line is like this, coming up in here. And there's that little bit I took off, and I added a little bit at the bottom part of it. So then we can get rid of this right here. Now, this is where it's such a little piece hanging on in the back of your pattern. I usually always still just come back with at least one piece of tape there, so that while I am, in fact, it needs to either have tape or else let's trim it just a little bit better here, so that when you're laying out your pattern for cutting, it doesn't fold under. And I did that's a little too jagged for even this small of a thing. Let's get that. It's a little more smoothed out. There we go. That's much better. So I would come and put a little tape back there, maybe even a tiny one down here. And now let's really make sure that we've got it secured here and it's not going to come apart. So now we have shortened the front piece. Whatever we do to the front piece of the leg, we have to do to the back piece of the leg. So we're going to do the same procedure. And we are going to use that as our line, 3/4 of an inch, perpendicular this way on the line there. We draw our balance line. We make our crease on that top line like we did on the other one. Okay, and now we're going to take and fold that up, match our arrow, and match our line that we drew. Okay, a little bit of tape. This one is enough that it's very easily to make that look smooth by just snipping off that edge. Over here again, we've got the same thing going on, so we're going to take a little piece of our patterning paper. We're going to lay it underneath there. We're going to put a little piece of tape. And now we're going to line up, and we're going to take like half of this right in this distance right there, half of that away, but we want to bring it from up here and gradually get into it and add a half over there and gradually get back into that point down there. So let's see if we can find a good position with our ruler that we like. And it looks like I have a good one for up at the top here, but I don't like how it's at the bottom. So I'm going to pivot now my ruler just a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and put a little piece of tape clear down here since we really went down in there so that I get a good clean cut there. Make sure I leave that little jog in that hem allowance. Don't be getting rid of that. And there we go. Looks like we have loose paper back here, and we can just snip him away. Put a little piece of tape on the back so that it stays its shape. And probably reinforce that fold one more time right there. All right, back out of the way here. And there is our shortened pant leg. Again, we would want to make sure that this seam is the same length. We would want to measure that on our pattern or walk it. And this one over here has to join together. Okay. And so that's the basic techniques of shortening and lengthening. We will look at the real thing when we get our pattern out to actually lay it out in the layout exercise. See you then. Bye.